Good morning, Helen Chin-Lu here, certified reflexologist, certified energy medicine practitioner, Reiki master, teacher, the owner of the Healing Place and the Healing Place Energy School. Well, let's start off on Monday with a small heart attack, especially when I thought I went Facebook Live and all of a sudden I got shut down. Oh my goodness. Anyways, I was starting to say how much I enjoy doing these live Facebook chats to share knowledge for anyone who has an interest and a desire to learn more about self-healing, self-care, holistic tips that you can incorporate every single day. So the series that we've been doing starting last week comprises of the 5 major ways we give away our healing powers. So I have moved my laptop to this space over here. So forgive me if I'm looking back and forth. I'm one of those people, I love to put notes together so this way I could give you a very informative lesson on what we're going to talk about. So the 5 giveaway, our addictions, what are we addicted to? Food, alcohol, repetitive cycles, especially if they're destructive cycles, financial challenges, health issues and challenges, and then lastly, a loss of connection to our spirit. So today we're going to talk about how to reconnect to our health so we can live the best life that we possibly can. Let's face it, if you don't have your health, what else do you know? Think about the holes you have in your life if you don't have good health. So how do we give away our healing powers? I think one of the biggest culprits today are commercials. We watch TV, we listen to radio, we listen to anything. We hear thousands of commercials on various medications. After a while, as you're listening, especially to those side effects, all of a sudden you're starting to feel not very good about yourself. And you're going, do I have this? Do I have that? And before you know it, you feel like you have those symptoms. That's what's in the commercials. It's like, stop already. Second, what are people telling us? People could be parents, it could be leaders, it could be people who are close to us, it could be medical doctors, constantly telling us what is wrong with us. And especially if you have learned you do not know how to connect to your body and the soul, and your brain and your body is constantly giving you mixed messages, especially if you're on meds. Medications will help to alleviate problems and pain, but it could also cause new health issues because of all the side effects that medications are causing us. And we want to do things that is convenient to us. Let's see. Let me know if you're watching and you're connecting with me. And, we override our intuition, especially when we numb out our emotions and we don't know what we feel sometimes. And how do we get like this? A lot of us have to do with the way we live. Depending on what you grew up with and who have influenced you in your life, they're the ones that indicate your lifestyle. So if you have parents who are constantly monitoring your health to the point where it's just too much, you become so nervous about your health because you don't necessarily always know what's working, what's not working, especially if you're insecure about the way you feel. So you've got to forgive yourself about your past mistakes, especially if you were a binge eater, if you end up not eating, if you decided that you've always wanted to work out and you sabotage yourself by not doing it. You live outside of your body, which means if you have a lot of pressure and you're trying to balance your life and you find your life so chaotic, you don't know where you are half the time, and then this causes you to become disconnected to your soul. And especially if you have started to have health issues, and you're denying what you're feeling. In fact, this is what I call overriding your personal circuits. And then before you know it, you're not certain how you feel. You don't want to be hypochondriac. You don't want to be running to the doctors. But what happens a lot of times when you do not follow through in what you're feeling, your body begins to break down. It's just as simple as that, and it stinks when that happens. I'm trying to find my cup of water. There it is, right here. So learning to connect to your body is going to be key. Always feeling it, and I call what I consider are the 5 major reasons why the body becomes imbalanced. I don't care, all your health, good health starts with if you have a good gut. So if you eat an acidy diet, I love breads. So bread is my thing. Bread, carbohydrates, pasta. In fact, this weekend when I was away, I ate a little bit too much bread, and now it's showing up as eczema on my skin. And I'm like, okay, even though I knew this was going to happen to me, what do? I stuff my face with way too much bread. But it was really good, though. Learning how to manage your stress is going to be key. If you're juggling your work, your family, your lifestyle, and you're constantly running and running, you never stop long enough to do check-in. What's your movement schedule? Movement, what do they say? Sitting is now considered a new cancer. Sitting all day, your body needs to move. Movement constitutes so little, start with a short walk, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a couple more minutes. Lack of me time. Everybody numb themselves out to the point when what constitutes me time today is sitting in front of the TV and watching all of those commercials that are slowly making you sick. Balance in your life, learning how to say no, setting boundaries, do things that make you feel happy. If you're constantly in an anxious state, this is going to break down your body quicker than ever. So developing a conscious lifestyle. Most of us live today a very robotic lifestyle. In fact, I talk about this in my online class, Chakra 101, Know Your Energy. We live to the point where we more or less know what to do every single day. Our life has become so structured that we don't have much flexibility. How mindful are you? What does this mean? How mindful are your thoughts? Do you know where you are in this moment? Are you aware of your circumstances? Are you aware of your thinking? Are you constantly being reactive instead of being proactive? How do you manage your energy flow? So if you're constantly stressed, chances are very good you're leaking your energy out of your body. Again, I talk about this extensively in my Chakra 101 class. If you don't know how to modulate your energy, you either leak out or you become too excessive, and then you end up exploding. How do you process your emotions? Do you eat them and pretend they don't exist, or do you process them in a healthy way? You can let this out and actually move the energy out of the body. Again, I talk more about this in my Chakra 101 class, which eventually I'm going to be offering to the public very soon. Diet. Let's talk a little bit more about diet. As I said earlier, all diseases begin in the gut because most of us eat a way too acidy diet. Unfortunately, today's food, I would say 80% of our food that is grown in the USA constitute under GMO, genetically engineered modified organism. So today's food is grown to feed the masses and not have a lot of nutrition values. In fact, the food has changed so much in my 62 years of my life. Your body has no longer can, I would say, digest processed food, because that's the reason why we have so many digestive issues today, because people have no idea what they're eating. Okay, so do you have experience with small intestinal bacteria overgrowth? Small intestinal bacteria overgrowth, for example, let's classify that as Candida and yeast. So as we're talking about GMOs and the food, okay, I could go into a huge long how food is processed from the mouth all the way down to your intestines and out into your colon. I'm going to give you a quick class, just a little bit, just to talk about that. And if you would like me to talk about this extensively in more detail, please text me in the box. I would love to give a class on how food is processed. So once food goes in, food takes anywhere from 24 to 48 process from in to out. No pun intended. You know what the out is about. And as all of your food you eat is processed in your gut, assuming that you really chew well. Once the food is processed, the food is called chyme, and it starts to drop down into your small intestines. Your small intestines absorbs all of the nutrients it absorbs into the intestinal walls and then gets delivered into your gut. And so you need to eat whole nutritional food. If you eat a lot of processed food, sugar foods, diet soda, I would call this dead food. That's what it is. If you're eating a lot of dead food, you have no nutrition. So what happens in your gut? Our gut consists of bad bacteria and good bacteria, so there's got to be a balance. And if you have a lot of cravings for sugar, what happens a lot of time, you end up feeding your bad bacteria, and this is Candida yeast, and then all of a sudden this yeast starts to grow. And heaven forbid, for most people, this Candida yeast stays in your lower tract, but as you start to develop more overgrowth, this Candida yeast ends up invading other parts of your body. So one of the things that I give an indication, especially for clients who come to visit me and they have a lot of nasal issues and a lot of postnasal drip, chances are good that the Candida has grown from your gut all the way up to your throat. Because what happens is once the Candida saturates your gut level, it has nowhere to go. All it could do is just invade other parts of your body. How do you get rid of Candida yeast? It's diet. If you have a lot of cravings, this is the first indicator, in my opinion, because since I work primarily with 90% of my clientele come to see me for digestive issues, if they start to have a lot of cravings, that is an indicator that they probably have Candida yeast. I am not a medical doctor, but I do a lot of research, and since 90% of my clientele is all about digestive issues, so I tried very hard to stay on top of this information so I could share. So coming back to alkaline diet, it's all about alkaline diet. If the best advice I've heard from a client, if you could eat an 80% alkaline diet, which consists of fruits and vegetables, that constitute half of your plate, 25% protein and 25% a carbohydrate, that is the best way you can help nourish your body. You know, you gotta watch those juices. I could go on and on forever in this subject, but you know, this is not what all of this is about today. So if you have other questions, please ask. Just for your information, according to National Institute of Health, more than 2/3 of adults in the U.S. is considered obese. Can you imagine that? Overweight, I should say overweight. So 2/3 of adults are overweight. I would like to lose about 10 pounds. That's something I struggle with. And half of that number are obese. And children on an alarming rate are more obese than ever before, due to inactivity, due to our diets, to fast food. So you got to look at what we eat. So think about what you're addicted to. If you're to fats, sugar, caffeine, it's time to start looking at the food you eat and ask yourself, how do these foods serve you? It's easy to break. No, none of these things are easy to break, these addictions. But you got to start recognize it. One of the things I did for myself when I turned 60 2 years ago, I decided I really want to live a healthy lifestyle. My addiction, as I mentioned earlier, are carbohydrates. You give me rice noodles, oh my God, it's in my face quicker than lightning. Not only that, I can't stop. But I decided at the age of 60, if my body was going to break down, most likely it will break down in this decade. You know, I'm not saying that you won't break down in earlier decades, but most likely if it's going to happen, it's going to happen in this decade. So I want to go into my 70s as healthy as possible. So you got to look at your food addiction. I mean, I could send you lists of things that you could start to think about. In fact, I've even developed an alkaline and acid food list. It's a short snapshot of the list on there. And if you would like that list, email me at wellness@healingplacemedfield.com, and I'm more than happy to send you that list. Or else I'll try, what I'll do? I'll try to add this attachment to one of the texts so you could see. So, stress management. Stress, it's the second biggest factor in breaking down your body. You figure, technology today is going to help you save time. Unfortunately, you're stretching your time more than you've ever had before. As you find that you have more time to do things, you're pushing more things into an hour than you've ever had. Especially if you're the kind of person that's working at a job that doesn't feed your soul, and your soul starts to die slowly. Oh my gosh, again, these are the things that could cause not only unhappiness, but your body to break down. Oh, I'm going to do a quick story. My last job, I worked at a small nonprofit organization. I started to get sick at the end of 6.5 years. It was a job that I started for 2 years. I ended up being there for 6.5 because it was a job that fulfilled all my immediate needs, distance, money, time. And it was a job that I hated. I truly hated it. In fact, I felt like a prostitute, and I was there. And I know prostitute is a harsh word. People think prostitute is a word that's used for sex, but not necessarily so. Prostitution could be anything you sell your soul for. Yeah. So I sold my soul for a job. My job, unfortunately, sucked the life out of me. At the end of 6.5 years, I was constantly getting sick. In fact, they even named colds and flus after me. They call it the Chin-Lu flu. And I knew I had to examine why I was getting sick. This is really key, And one of the things, and I knew it was time for me to go. And when I left on September 9, 2006, I gave myself a whole weekend off, and I established my business on that Monday. So I left Friday, Saturday, Sunday took off, and established a healing place on a Monday. Yes, I know, it's nothing like just keeping up with the beat and keep on moving. So think about what feeds you. Movement. In order to get your waist and everything to move, you got to move. If you sit there at a job 8 hours in front of the computer, you're slowly dying. You really are. In order to your body functions to move, your lymphatics to move, your circulation move, you got to move. If you're not good at moving and at structured time, do a whole bunch of little walks. Go to the mailbox, go to the bathroom, do anything that will break up your day. You got to move. Otherwise, toxins just sits in your gut and it got nowhere to go, all right? So move everything. And you got to start. You got to fit it into your life. So if you're making excuses, who are you making excuses for? Really, if you're too lazy, start today. Start with a minute, 2 minutes. Work your way up. Me, my personal schedule, I try to do 2 to 3 hours of movement a day. My my doggies, my puppies with the short little 4-inch legs, they put on 2 miles a day at least. It's not an option in our household. Okay. Me time. What do you do every day to connect to your soul? If you're constantly thinking what you got to do for your family, for work, your friends, that's not the same. Sorry, that does not constitute me time. That constitute let me leak out all of my energy time to give to everybody else. You got to connect to what you love. So even if, let's say, for example, I love to cook, but I haven't cooked as much as I used to, that was part of my meditation time. I could go into a quiet place where I just enjoy just being. I crank up my music, probably to an unhealthy level for my ears, but I'm in a zone. And I used to be able to do this with tennis, but unfortunately I've developed old lady legs. I can't play like I used to. And those are the things I enjoy to connect to me. Here's my health mantra, which I wrote in last night's text. Can't figure out which box. This is something you need. What are mantras? Mantras are inspiration, something that you need to repeat throughout your day until you believe it, because you want to absorb those words into your soul. Right now, most of us will have a tendency to work towards negativity because you've spoken so many negative things over your life. That's what's ingrained on a cellular level. So if you operate from a level of darkness, why not operate from a level of light? This is something that this is part of the mindful practice that you got to do every single day. If you need to repeat it 2, 3, 5, 10, 25 times a day, do it until you believe it, because that's the only way you can rewrite your story. So I'm going to read my mantra for you. I will not punish myself for what I am not. Okay, hear that? I will not punish myself for what I am not. I actively seek good health. I am strong. I got to work on that. I eat food that nourishes my body. I will move my body at least a half hour a day. I will spend 60 minutes every day for me time. Me time, not husband time, wife time, children time. Me time. Every day is a perfect time to begin. So don't try to fit these mantras in when it's perfect. There's no such thing as a perfect moment. I am taking the first step to taking care and loving my body. Okay? Does that sound good? I hope that does. Say it enough times, because I wrote it up above, so I should say below. Just repeat it over and over again until you believe it. This is how you're going to radiate that positive, beautiful light that you were meant to, you've always had. And even if you don't believe you do have it, it's there. It's just living in your shadows right now. All right. So let's talk about my next webinars. Coming back to the next webinars. If there's anything that you would like me to talk about, feel free to just email me, text me, put it on the Facebook, because I love sharing knowledge. And especially doing this healing work now since 2006, I have seen a lot of things over the course of 11 years, a lot of education, and I would love to share with you. So I have 2 upcoming webinars this week. Yeah, I'm like a crazy woman, between seeing clients, I'm putting these informational webinars for you. So Wednesday night, it is, you're going to sign up for this. It's Energy Medicine for Everyday People. I love that name. I come up with the coolest titles. God just showers me with all of this knowledge. So it's all about mindfulness, mindful eating, mindful thinking, mindful activities. So I'm going to put in about 15 to 20 minutes of just talking about basically what is mindfulness. Let's start. And then Wednesday, Friday the 14th, I'm going to be back on Facebook Live Chat and end this series with how to connect to your soul, connect to your spirit. Because you need all of those components. You need the mind and body and the spirit in order to heal, not physically, emotionally, but on a cellular level and on spirit. I hope this has really been helpful to you, and I enjoy being with you, and I'll talk to you really soon. Bye-bye.